listening to the best of the Martha Zoller Show. To hear the full show each day, tune in to AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN or log in to accesswdun.com and click the Listen Live button from 9 to 11, Monday through Friday. Unusual thing that this year Hanukkah is going to coincide with Christmas. It's always in December. Hanukkah's always in December, but based on the calendar that they use this year, Hanukkah is going to be on December 25th. And so we thought it would be appropriate to get back together with Anat Sultan Dadon, who is the Consul General of Israel for the Southeastern United States, and kind of share some of the updates of the season. Anat, how are you?
Good morning, Martha. Good to be with you.
So how does that happen? Explain to people that don't know, kind of why the dates of Hanukkah move around.
Well, because they are based on the Jewish calendar and not on the Gregorian calendar. And so, like all of our Jewish holidays, they fall around similar times every year, but the date does move because it is based on the Jewish calendar.
Well, I was very excited to see that. I think that's a good sign. I believe, I'm hoping that we are going to get the hostages released as soon as possible. And we got good messages from this incoming government. I know you don't take sides on that, but I think that President-elect Trump was very clear that he expects the hostages to be released by the time he's sworn in, if not sooner.
We are in favor, support, and appreciate any attempt by anyone in order to see the hostages released. It has been 437 days. There are still 100 men, women, and children hostages languishing in captivity, including 7 American citizens. And we hope that indeed we will see these holidays and this Hanukkah in which we celebrate light, we hope to finally see all of our brothers and sisters return home.
I don't know if you got to see the video out of New Jersey of a group of IDF soldiers who were going to go to speak to a middle school in New Jersey and how they were welcomed with this just unbelievable celebration. Did you get to see that?
I did not.
You should take a look at it. It'll make you feel good. I mean, they thought they were just going to give a regular speech about what they do, and there's this room full of children just cheering and singing and, and being a part of it. And it makes you feel good. Makes you feel good.
I love that, and I must say, though I haven't seen the video, I think what you're describing is a reminder for all of us that most of Americans, the decent people out there, they're the majority.
Yes.
It is a majority that supports Israel, that support what Israel is fighting, because what we are fighting is a fight of all of us against darkness. And so I am glad to see that, and I think that we should view these examples as a reminder that there is a hateful minority out there, but they do not speak for the majority of Americans and for the majority in the free world.
Give us an update on kind of where things are right now in Israel related to the war.
Well, the war is ongoing. Just this morning, another missile was fired at Israel from Yemen, from the Houthis. But we are seeing a significant change in terms of the significant weakening of Iran and its terror proxies, also due to the developments in Syria, which we have all witnessed. These developments not only weaken Iran, they also weaken its capability to further foment terror in the region, and that is good news for the entire region. We hope that when the dust settles, we will have on our border not an enemy, but a party who is willing to accept Israel's existence. But we are, of course, prepared for any scenario.
Can you explain what's going on with the Israeli embassy closing in Ireland? I'm seeing news reports on that. Is that an unusual thing to happen?
It is a very unusual step that Israel has taken, but one that honestly I don't see how it would be any other way. We have for a long time seen a vehemently anti-Israel approach from Ireland. Recently, seeing Ireland choose to side with this outrageous accusation of Israel at the ICJ, accusing Israel of genocide while it is fighting a genocidal terror organization. Our government, our foreign minister, felt it appropriate that we not have representation in such a country, and we prioritize. The decision was to close the embassy in Dublin and open an embassy in Moldova, a country that has been supportive of Israel. And I think that it is only natural for our international relations to be based on our interests and on where we have also common values.
So, I agree with you. And, look, I'm a hopeful, positive person. I believe like you that most people in America and around the world are shocked and dismayed by what they have seen with the rise of anti-Semitism. It probably was always there. You and I have talked about this before, and we just, for whatever reason, these people feel like they're okay to, express it, which I do not understand. But I feel hopeful as we go forward, as we move forward with this. Joni?
Yes, I really am frightened with what's going on in the colleges. Can you give me any insight as to what is going on in the colleges? Are they paying agitators? Who's coming in to stir up these anti-Israeli, anti-Jewish rhetoric?
Look, there's no doubt that there are elements that are driven by an agenda that are causing what we are seeing on college campuses and universities. But one has to keep in mind that it is not about those who are trying to drive this hateful agenda. It is a time for leadership on behalf of these academic institutions, and that is why we see a stark difference between academic institutions whose leaders are taking a clear moral stand, who will not put up with this celebration of hate on their campuses. And we are seeing the difference between them and between those who are sadly displaying moral failure. And that is where this hatred festers and spreads. This is a time for clear moral leadership, and this extends also to academic leadership.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I want to shift gears before we say goodbye to you on the as we go into the holidays. What are the kinds of things that you and your family do as you celebrate Hanukkah?
Well, with every Jewish holiday, it is about family. It is about remembering our traditions and our story as a people. And I think now, perhaps more appropriate than ever, Hanukkah serves as a wonderful and timely reminder of what the Jewish people are about, because Hanukkah ultimately is the celebration of light over darkness. It is the celebration of a small, outnumbered Jewish army that faced those who sought its destruction, and they were able to overcome with their determination, with their belief, their faith, and the strength of their identity. That is what the Jewish people are about. That is what we are still about. And that is why it is a welcome reminder to celebrate the light, but to know also that even in these dark times, light will prevail.
Well, and I wanted to just say to you that while the circumstances of our meeting were related to the horrible events on October 7th, I feel inordinately blessed by being able to develop a relationship with you over the last year and a half. I know that we're going to be celebrating happier times as time goes on, but I want you to know, Anat, that it has been a blessing for me to be able to get to know you a little better over these last year and a half.
Thank you. I have tremendous appreciation for you, and I appreciate you as a person, but also the fact that you are open to giving a stage, especially this past year, so that we can allow people in these clouds of lies and disinformation to allow some truth to be out there.
Absolutely. And I will say to you, Happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Happy holidays to you all.
It's where North Georgia comes to talk. It's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
It is the Martha Zoller Show, and it's just my pleasure to welcome this next guest because we have a lot in common. We both went back to school at a later age and got a degree, and I so appreciate him being with us today. Herschel Walker is here with me today. Welcome, Herschel, and Merry Christmas.
Hello there. Merry Christmas to you and your audience. And how are you doing?
I'm doing great. So listen, first of all, tell me what this process was like to go back to school and get your degree after over 40 years.
Well, it was kind of weird because, I never really thought about it because God has blessed me in the business world, and I was doing well after playing in the NFL and doing so many things in the athletic world. And life was going well. But I've been blessed that Julie and I, we have a foundation, and we give a lot of scholarships out. And then I was nominated to be in the racial algebra, which is one of the largest scholarship providers in the U.S., And then I also sit on a friend of mine board where I give out scholarships, and I started asking myself, am I a hypocrite? And I said, I'm going to go back to get my degree. And it was really kind of unusual because I started taking classes online, and then they told me that I needed to come back because my lab that I took 40-something years ago didn't really count today. So I had to come back on campus, and I was like, I said, Julie, no big deal. Maybe I can drive from Atlanta to Athens, and it'll be okay. And then I said, no, why don't we move to Athens? And we moved back to Athens. And I would say this here, I really, really enjoyed being back on campus, and I think I really got a chance to see the campus. Yeah, but I tell you what, it's a lot of work. It was a lot of work, and I've never written so many papers in my life.
Oh, I tell you what, I always say you get younger and better looking the closer you get to Athens, okay, because it's just the most wonderful place in the world. I love going back every time I can, and I went back to school in 2016. Now, I went part-time because I was working full-time, and so it took me about 4 years to get my master's degree, but I wanted to take in-person classes. And Herschel, wasn't that just fabulous being in the class with these, 20-somethings, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and being able to have them not be quite sure about you? I don't know how they were with you, but then by the time they got to know me, they realized that I was someone that maybe could help them in life.
Well, it was. I really, really enjoyed it because, even though I was sort of like I could have been everyone in the class grandfather, but it made me feel young again. And, to hear some of the kids sometimes say, oh, Mr. Walker, my parents was in school here with you. And you go, wow, that tells me that I am getting old. But, the kids look to me to help them in certain things, and the professor as well. And I think it was great for me because it gave the professors a chance to see that I was in class doing my work, whereas I think online it would have been a distance where they probably would have thought it was AI doing it the whole time, but they got a chance to see me doing my work and to interact with the students. I think made it even better for me to learn this generation. This generation is a little bit different than our generation. We are working hard and trying to accomplish, and I think they're like, let's work smarter, not harder. And, and you got to remember, when I was in class, they didn't have computers. They had, they barely had typewriters. And so I sit around class with my notebook and my pen, and I'm writing everything down, even though I have my computer there. And I look around the class, and I see all the kids on their computer. They just be typing away, and I'm thinking, there's no way they can be typing that fast and stuff. And but they was keeping up with it. But I ended up doing well, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I will say this, I learned some things, and I will say that I think I learned a lot of things while I was there. and even though I was correct in certain things I was saying, but I don't think I said it in the proper manner. And and I tell you, it was really I enjoyed it.
Well, you mentioned the writing. Yeah, go ahead, please.
I'll tell you something that was very unusual as well. My mom, she loved me in sports, but she never said, Herschel, you played great football, or you was a great football player. I love your Olympics. She never said anything about my sporting career. But I was with my mom, and this is probably a couple of months ago, and she looked at me and she said, I'm so proud of you going back to get your degree. And I'm like, what? She said, I'm so happy that you went back to get your degree. And I'm like, Mom, what are you talking about? She said, when you left here, you promised me you were going to get it, and I'm happy you going back to get it. And even at the graduation, she said, this is one of the proudest moments of my life. And I was like, Mom, why you never said anything to me? And she said, you've been so busy and you had things doing. I really didn't want to bother you. And she said, I'm so happy that you went back to get it. And, that really made a big, big, big difference, because it made things really mean something to me, because it made my mom happy. I wish my father was here to see that I did it, because, I did. And, you sort of forget things. But when I left home, I did say, oh, guys, I'll get my degree and stuff. And so I was happy that I went back to do it.
Well, your father knows you did it. He's watching you. He knows it. But I know what you mean. My father would have been very proud too when I went back to school. And I don't know about you, but it's like, and you're lucky to still have your mom. I've lost my mom too, but it's like I feel him with me all the time. And so I'm blessed by that. The other day I was pulling out a recipe, and a bunch of other recipes that my mother had written fell out of the cookbook. And I was like, Mom, you're looking over me right now. So let me ask you a question. You mentioned about the writing. I got two more questions for you. The writing, I noticed that too, the amount of writing. I always tell the kids that I'm mentoring that if you can write a sentence, a paragraph, or a page, you'll always have work. Do you feel that way after you've done all the writing you've done?
I do, because, and I would say this, my writing got so much better. I've been fortunate that normally when I needed to write something, I can just give it to someone. Oh, can you do this here for me? They do it. And now I had to do it myself. And, and I was up late at night, because I was not a great writer. But I would say today my writing has improved 200 times. And that's the reason I think it's so great how important education really is, and my skills and that has improved, and I think every day we need to be working on something, and I'm going to do that every day. Well,
what keeps you young is being a lifelong learner. I think if you can,
it does.
Yeah, always learning something new, right?
Yes, it does. It keeps you young, and I'm going to keep trying to stay young.
So how is your business life going right now?
Business is going well. Our company has grown. I think I think that we were before anyway, but we're one of the largest minority-owned food service companies in the United States, and business is really going well. And we're trying to sell more and more. And it's been challenging though. It's work, and that's why I tell people one thing about it is it's work, and I try to keep my people to be people person, and not on their phone. I hate for you to text someone or send emails all the time. I'm like, pick up the phone, call the person, say hello to the person, talk to the person, make it a personal thing. I think that's what we need to get back to, and not make it knowing someone over the internet.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I always tell people, have a face-to-face conversation with somebody. Try to do that. Now, I'm not going to talk politics with you today, but you know what a huge fan I am of yours.
Yeah.
But you got a little news overnight. Do you want to mention that?
Well, yes. I've known President Trump for over 40 years. I think that's what people don't realize, that President Trump and we've known each other for over 40 years, and and I was with him during his first time in office. People don't know I was one of the chairmen of the President Council of Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition. And what was weird, overnight, President Trump nominated me to be the ambassador of the Bahamas. and it's a great, great honor. I'm so proud to be a part of his administration again because he is going to make America great again. I think he's put together a great team, and I'm honored that he got me on that team. But it's still a process. I got to go through the process and get confirmed. That's one of the things I got to do. I'm hoping that they're going to be get me through it, and I'm hoping I can do a good job for the state of Georgia and also for President Trump in America.
Well, I wish you the best of luck in that. And you mentioned team, University of Georgia. Kirby Smart said, I may have had better teams. I may have had, I may have had stronger teams, but this is the most mentally tough team that he's had. What are your thoughts on the University of Georgia as it goes into the playoffs?
Well, if people look back at the beginning of the year, I thought Georgia was going to win it all. I'm still saying they're going to win it all. That team is totally mentally tough. And, I think that Georgia Tech game was the Florida game that I played in my freshman year when we came back to beat Florida, and it led us into the championship. I think that Georgia Tech game was it. To go, what was it, 8 overtimes?
I know. I was there. 8 overtimes. Yep.
Yes. They come out victorious, and then, we had overtime against Texas. They came out victorious. I think that team now know that they can't be beat. I think they know that they got to play every game, and I think this is a team to do it. It is sad that we lost Carson Beck. It is sad that we lost Brett, the punter, but, I think there are some guys that are going to step up. They got to pull together, but I think Georgia is ready to play football. One thing that was great about it is, I was working so hard in school, and Julie and I, after I'm out of class, we'll get on our bike and ride around the university on our bike. We go about 15 miles, and we'll go by the training facilities, and we can hear the guys out there practicing. And I can tell you what, I told someone, those guys are ready to play. And if they come every day with the right attitude, Georgia's going to win it all. I think the state of Georgia, I think the people, the dogs are going to be happy again.
So what was it, one final question, what was it like traveling around the campus? Because you said you acted like a student, right? You get ready for class, then you go out and do. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what's so strange about it was, and I told Julie this, I think I may have been sheltered when I was here in Athens before, because there were so many things I saw that I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't know this was here. I didn't know Georgia was a foodie town. I didn't know they had all these restaurants. The only restaurant I saw was Wendy's and Popeyes, and I didn't know they had a lot of great restaurants.
It's
what was so great.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I said what was so great about it is we were out on our bikes, and I got a chance to see this campus, and I said, this is a beautiful campus. It is huge. I said, it's a beautiful campus. We were walking along the millage. That's something I've never done. I never did that when I was there before. I got a chance to walk along millage and stuff, and I would say this, and then like you said, let's stay away from politics. But I was there, and where I lived, that was not too far from where Miss Riley, where she was killed, and that devastated that campus. And we do have to do something. And I'm gonna get away from politics, but we have to do something because it is sad, and it was very sad because we have so many young people there on that university that they would like I want to protect them all, because Georgia is a beautiful campus. Anyone that ever get the opportunity to go, I ask them to jump on that opportunity. And I want to say this as well: education is so important. You don't have to go to a 4-year school. You can go to a 2-year school. You can go to a trade school. But no matter what, get an education. Whether it's in electronic plumbing, get an education, because that is so important.
Absolutely. Herschel Walker, hopefully the next ambassador to the Bahamas, graduate of the University of Georgia. I appreciate you so much and the way you've been so forthcoming throughout all the interviews we've done over the years, and it's been a blessing for me to get to know you. I wish you a very Merry Christmas.
Well, thank you, and Merry Christmas to you, and Merry Christmas to all the listeners, and say God bless you guys.
Putting the talk in news talk. It's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Steve Moore is joining me right now, who is like the king of economies. I was very surprised. I like Mike Johnson, Steve. I think Mike Johnson understands what he's dealing with, but I don't think he understood, either didn't understand what was in the bill and the level of things they were given to Democrats, or he's just tone deaf. I don't know which one.
Well, good to be with you, Martha. Look, I'm a big fan of Speaker Johnson's, by the way. I think he's done an awesome job in a very, very tough situation, so I think he's been a great speaker. But
and you don't want to kick people off for one thing, right?
Well, but look, here's the problem. I mean, first of all, I hate this bill just as you do, and I bet a lot of your listeners do.
Yeah.
But let's face it. I mean, Republicans have, what, a 3-seat majority right now, or 4-seat majority, so out of 435. And I hate to tell you, Martha, I'm sure this won't surprise you, but, you've got a lot of big spending Republicans.
Yeah.
And so if they don't pass this bill, they would. And by the way, I agree entirely with Donald Trump. His tweet was exactly right on. I'm even more concerned about the debt ceiling increase, that they're just going to kick in the next year and let Trump have to deal with this when it was the Biden spending spree that caused all the increase in the debt in the first place. So it's an ugly mess. We've dug ourselves into a gigantic hole that is filled with red ink. It's a $7 trillion budget. The whole thing is obscene. It's hard to look. There are so many people to blame here. Republicans, obviously Joe Biden, obviously the Senate Democrats. It's a disgrace.
Well, I think it's a 3-level
We're going to
kind.
go bankrupt.
Steve, I think it's a 3-level kind of thing. And the statement that Trump put out along with J.D. Vance was a streamlined spending bill that doesn't give Chuck Schumer and the Democrats everything they want. They also said they wanted an increase in the debt ceiling, which they have to do, because if they're going to get their policies in place, they're going to have to do it. But there's also, I don't know if you followed these two other things. You've got the Biden administration selling off all the pieces of the wall, number one, and then they're advertising for a whole bunch of DEI-related positions, which you know as well as I do. If the government's advertising them, they already have people to put in those positions. They're just advertising in order to show that they sent the blanket out to try to get more people in. And these are jobs that pay $200,000 a year. Why are they filling these jobs in November and December?
Great point. I mean, and by the way, the federal and state and local employees get about 30% or 40% more than private sector workers get when you take into account the benefits. And actually, it's interesting because if we had a brief government shutdown, and we may, who knows where this is going to end. And you and I have lived through many of these, Martha, in recent years. But they say, oh my God, the federal employees won't have anywhere to go to work. And I'm like, well, they're not working now. So how is that going to be any different? We already got 90% of them not showing up for work. So how is it going to be any different if the buildings are locked shut? So look, this is always a manufactured crisis. I think they should take another look at this, find ways they can cut spending. By the way, there was an article in yesterday's Wall Street Journal, just to give you a sense of what's going on here with this spending spree. And I'm going to read this title for you because it blew me away. It just so depressed me. Here's the title from the Wall Street Journal, second page. Biden will give PG&E, that's one of the big utility in California. Biden will give PG&E $15 billion loan to deal with all their green energy issues that are bankrupting the state and are causing all the energy problems there. Now, why in the world should the federal government have to pay for California's mistakes? $15 billion loan? Do you think they're ever going to repay that?
No, I don't think so at all. No.
It says that the loan office had planned to provide a $30 billion loan to PG&E. And by the way, Biden's doing this as quickly as can. They even have a provision. Here's the thing. They even have a provision in this. This gives you a little microcosm of what's wrong in Washington that says there's no clawback. In other words, Biden cannot come in. Trump cannot come in 3 or 4 weeks and reverse this. It's irreversible. This is exactly this is the Green New Deal, basically, another $15 billion. That's what the people just voted against.
So is this scrambling behind the scenes? You've been in Washington longer, where Biden or his representatives are going to people and say, hey, I'm on the way out the door. What do you need before I leave? Is that what this is?
Yes. And it's also making sure that every single penny they can get their hands on, they spend. So in other words, you would think, given the fact that we borrowed nearly $2 trillion last year, an all-time record, that they would be looking for ways to save money. But in fact, Biden, every single nickel he can find, they're shaking the, as I said on the Fox show last night, they're shaking all the sofas to find out if there's any quarters or nickels in there that they can spend. They're spending money like it's M&Ms, like it's candy. And our country goes deeper into debt. Donald Trump cannot fix this. It's going to take decades to fix this.
Yeah, I mean, it is an extremely difficult situation. I mean, I want things to go as smoothly as possible going into this new administration. Mm-hmm. But it appears to me that while Biden was all smiles and nice when Trump went to the White House, and I did praise them for the way they handled that interaction, okay? But I think behind the scenes, all he's trying to do is try to muck things up, is what he's doing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And by the way, remember when he gave his speech, they were saying, I'm handing off to Trump a very healthy economy. What the hell is he talking about? I mean, the debt is so high right now. It goes up and up and up. We're going to have to deal with that. Inflation is rearing its ugly head again. The stock market didn't do very well yesterday because the Fed doesn't know what to do. I mean, this guy can't get in office soon enough. But you're right. He is going to inherit. I think, it's going to take some time Trump will hit the ground running, but we're in such a deep hole right now.
Well, and that's why I hope
people will be patient.
That's why we need to make sure that Trump can do whatever he needs to do and that J.D. Vance is ready to make this like a Reagan Bush kind of 12-year kind of thing, because it's going to take that long to straighten things out. And people have got to check their egos, Steve. And I know that's hard to do when you're in politics, but people have got to check their egos.
Well, also they can't just go to Washington to, quote, bring home the bacon. They've got to put the national interests at stake here. I mean, remember when Biden said a couple of years ago, I've reduced the deficit more than any other president? No, he hasn't. He increased the debt more than any other president.
That's right. It was that 1 year after COVID, which, of course, anybody would have had a lower deficit that year. But he made up for it. And look, there's enough. I'm not just blaming Democrats here, okay?
Oh, the Republicans. By the way, just yesterday, the Republicans, I think there were 22 Republicans in the Senate who voted for a $200 billion Social Security giveaway to public employee unions. So you're right. This is a bipartisan problem.
And what has to happen, really, people need to look more. Rand Paul's not my favorite guy in the Senate, okay? But when it comes to these fiscal things, he makes a lot of sense. You go back to the 2019 budget, which was a $1 trillion deficit, by the way, okay? The 2019 budget, you adjusted for inflation, that brings you up to about $5.5 trillion. Yep. That is roughly a balanced budget. It's about a $300 billion deficit, which is like nothing, right, in today's world. And then you build the budget back from that. That gets all the COVID money out, and that gets us back to where we would have been had we had normal spending.
Yep. I mean, it's not that complicated. And Rand Paul actually is one of my favorite senators, but I mean, he's one of the few who actually has a fiscal conscience. Now,
yes. On fiscal issues, I love him. On fiscal issues, I love him. Yeah. And the other issues, he's a little quirky. That's all. But that's all right.
Well,
We're
Martha,
all quirky.
If I don't talk to you before Christmas, I hope you have a great Christmas. I hope these congressmen who haven't ruined our Christmas, but I think it's going to be a wonderful, joyful Christmas. And, these scoundrels in Washington, we've got to we got to rein them in a little bit, and I guarantee you Trump is going to do that because it's his party, it's his country, and he has a mandate from the voters. That's the thing. The voters are 100% behind him.
Well, Steve, I appreciate you very much, and thank you for being available on short notice today because this is a big issue. But Merry Christmas to you. I'm sure we'll talk again before the new year, but it'll be a lot of fun. To hear the full versions of last week's Martha Zoller shows, go to the podcast page at accesswdun.com, and you can follow me on social media at Martha Zoller.